Hey guys, so I don't know about you, but I feel like I personally need a little bit of a distraction from current events and everything that's going on. And I feel like sometimes self-care is really important when you're feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and angry and sad and all sorts of things. So I wanted to film something a little bit different just to kind of distract us a little bit, just for the time being. Obviously, we want to keep fighting for justice and everything and pay attention and raise our voices. But I feel like it's important to have that little bit of self-care and distracting ourselves. I haven't talked about MLMs in a while, but I've filmed a few videos talking about multi-level marketing companies and the dangers of them and how they can be really icky and insidious and predatory. And I did a reaction video a few months ago talking about vector marketing, and I reacted to someone who had worked at vector marketing for a very long time and was a branch manager there. And I reacted to her video, and I still will not give the identity of the person. If you happen to stumble across their video, you're the one who found it. I want to keep their identity private. I'm not going to be naming them or anything like that. And I didn't in that video. But the person who talked positively about vector marketing and how great the company is and everything, they put out a second video talking about vector marketing and questioned whether it was a scam or not. So I wanted to react to this because I feel like there were quite a few people who were coming to my last video about vector marketing, and it was both people who had been recruited to work for the company, people who were working for the company and thought it was awesome, and there were people who were researching it and wanting to know what the company was all about. So I think it's important to keep raising awareness about companies like this where they prey on college students, they prey on military wives, they prey on single moms, and these companies are scams. They really are. They are essentially pyramid schemes that have not been brought to justice yet and have not been taken down. But over the course of the past few months, there have been quite a few companies that have been taken down, and it's great to see. So I'll put links in the description to articles about MLMs that have been brought to justice and have been taken down. I feel like it gives me hope to see that not all these companies are going to be around forever. I wanted to react to this video because it's so frustrating that vector marketing is still trying to recruit people and trying to prey on college students and young people. It's really sad that vector marketing is still trying to prey on people to this day after years and years of lawsuits and court cases and people who have been hurt by the company and have been scammed by the company out of so much of their money. We have to call out the misinformation and the lies when we see it. Just like with the other video, I will be blurring the people involved in this video, and if there is any personal information that would give this person's identity away or anything, I'll be cutting out all personal information, their names, all of that information. So none of that will be in this video. I just want to give that as a disclaimer. This is fair use that I'm reacting to, so I just want to put all of that out there. This is a fair use video that I'm reacting to, and I will be blurring all of it. So I just want to put that out there.
If you clicked on this video, you probably have an interview with Vector Marketing lined up, and you wanted to get more information about the company. You wanted to know if they actually were a scam or not. And you also probably wanted to know a little bit more about what the interview process would look like. So I'm here to hopefully answer all the questions that you have and just provide updated information about vector marketing.
Right off the bat, she admits, you're probably researching vector marketing because you want to know if it's a scam or not. The only companies that I can think of where people are consistently Googling, is this company a scam? Is when the company is a scam. I mean, how often do you hear people researching, is Target a scam? Is Petco a scam? Is Urban Outfitters a scam? I know I've seen in my comment section of my last vector marketing video, people tried to compare the companies that I named to vector marketing, and they said those companies have been sued. Those companies have been brought to court numerous times, and those companies have had to pay in response to those lawsuits and court cases. And to that I say, yeah, yes, they have. Do I think that those companies are perfect? No. Do I think that those companies sometimes do break the law? Yes. Do I think that the court cases that are brought against them have validity? Yes, of course they do. We know how scummy Walmart treats its workers and other big corporations. We know that, and we speak out against it. I personally am in favor of a $15 minimum wage. I'm in favor of more rights for workers and treating workers fairly. I'm not giving Walmart or Target or any huge corporation a pass. She's saying specifically that vector marketing sees a pattern of people consistently searching, is vector marketing a scam? Not, does vector marketing respect its workers? Does vector marketing pay their workers a living wage? Does vector marketing abide by rules and regulations to protect workers? They're not searching those things. They're searching, is it a scam? AKA, is vector marketing a real job? While Target and Walmart and other huge corporations have their problems, we acknowledge that. And I am in favor of when they have court cases brought against them, when they treat their workers unfairly and are breaking the law. You don't see people consistently searching for whether working at Walmart is a scam or a real job. That happens with vector marketing and other MLMs. That's unique to those types of companies. You don't see that in big corporations.
Work with vector looks very different this year than it has in past years. So even though they've had these online remote programs set up, they've now taken all of their offices completely remote. So that kind of changes everything, and that's why I was compelled to make this video, because I actually made a video on my channel last year all about vector marketing, and I wanted to give an updated version just because that information is no longer up to date. Now everything is fully remote. I wanted to put this up there and give you all of the new info.
So I'm not sure if the reason for vector marketing going completely remote is due to the pandemic. With the pandemic, a lot of companies are either temporarily or permanently going remote and having all of their workers working from home. I'm not sure if that's why. Like I said in my previous vector marketing video, people who work for vector marketing, you would have to set up appointments yourself to give a pitch to get people to buy knives. Supposedly you were paid by appointment, but you were not paid for calling people to set up the appointments, for finding more contacts, for commuting to the appointments. So I don't know if it was to try to skirt the law and to try to avoid more court cases so that people weren't suing them because they weren't being reimbursed for all of that time. I'm interested to see if they do talk about, what if someone doesn't have a laptop? Is a laptop provided to them? The equipment, the space to hold your appointments and everything? I mean, some people don't have laptops, some people don't have access to that. Some people don't really have space in their apartment or home to properly have these appointments and not be disturbed if they're living at home with people or something like that. I'm not quite sure what resources Vector would be providing to people.
Also, later on in this video, I will actually be interviewing Vector Marketing's digital strategy manager, and he's going to walk us through what the interview process looks like. And I mean, it's no secret that a lot of people don't like Vector. They call it a scam. And there's been a lot of accusations and different opinions on Vector. So I actually want to go right to him and ask him his opinions on these accusations and see if he wants to respond in any way to those.
So I just wanted to point out how it's so apparent that if Vector Marketing wasn't a scam, why would you need to be making a video about it? The video wouldn't exist because it's not a scam. You wouldn't have people consistently for decades saying it's a scam, offering proof that it's a scam, having numerous lawsuits stating that it's a scam. Why would you be having to make the video if it's not a scam? Why are you consistently having to argue against the fact that it's a scam if it's not a scam? Again, to go back to examples like Target and Walmart and Urban Outfitters, Costco, huge corporations that, again, I don't believe are perfect or examples of good companies necessarily, but you don't hear people consistently saying, oh, Walmart's a scam, Costco's a scam. They're companies and they have their faults and they've had lawsuits and they need to be held accountable when they are operating illegal practices, but they're not scams. They're not illegitimate companies. They're companies that have their faults. But the fact that you have to keep consistently putting out videos saying, no, Vector Marketing's not a scam. No, it's not a scam. Here, let me show you how it's not a scam. If the claim is out there so consistently that you have to put out videos like this, it's hard to argue that it's not a scam.
And I am actually a former sales representative with Vector Marketing. I worked there, I sold Cutco for over 3 years, and I was there in multiple different capacities. So although I did enjoy my time there with Vector, I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. Honestly, I do not care if, you decide to sell Cutco or not. It's totally up to you. I'm just here to provide the factual information so that you can make an informed decision for yourself. I mean, I know that selling Cutco and sales in general isn't for everyone. So hopefully I can just answer the questions that you have and dispel some of the outdated information that's out there and some of the rumors that are out there as well.
I want to point out that she said she's not trying to convince anybody, and she said that in her last video as well, that she wasn't trying to convince anybody to join Vector Marketing. Her video was just leaving out a lot of very important details and twisting the information, and it was just quite absent of the facts and the truth. If she's not trying to convince people to join Vector Marketing, then why are you making the video if you're no longer with Vector Marketing? And for this video, I don't believe the first video that she had any sort of partnership with Vector Marketing in order to make it. But with this one, she did say that it is a partnership where I believe she is compensated by Vector Marketing for making this video, where it is PR, it's marketing. They're trying to put Vector Marketing somehow in a better light. I'll let you guys be the judge and see what you think. If you think that this is a good idea, trying to kind of correct the record and dispel the rumors and everything. So we'll see what we think.
I want to answer 3 main questions that you probably have about Vector Marketing. So number 1, is Vector Marketing a scam? No, they're not. Trust me, I actually worked there for several years. Unlike some other people, online who leave reviews or have done YouTube videos about it, who have only worked there for a few weeks. I mean, it's totally up to you as to who you want to believe, but Vector has been around since 1981, and the product that they sell is over 65 years old. It's Cutco cutlery, which has a forever guarantee and has really good reviews. They're good knives. They're really high quality kitchen cutlery. They also, for the last 15 years, have sold at least $100 million annually.
There were people in my comment section either talking in favor of the company or against it, and they didn't dispute what I said. They said that it was true that you don't get paid for training, you don't get paid for commuting when you did commute to appointments, you didn't get paid for setting up the appointments, for trying to cold call people and track down new contacts of people, and no one disputed it. Even people who were in favor of it, people who were in her position, who were managers, and said, I had my own office. And they didn't refute what I said. They didn't say, no, you're wrong. We do get paid for training. They said, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with not getting paid for training? If you're being trained, you're not working yet. But then people who were working for the company and then quit said, yeah, you're right. We didn't get paid for training and it's stupid and I didn't like it. And either I'm trying to get out of the company or I quit. It's interesting that even the people who were coming to my channel who were trying to do damage control, I guess, and say, oh, Vector Marketing's a great company. They didn't say that I was wrong. They didn't say anything I said was incorrect. They backed up what I said. And they said, yeah, it's true. We don't get paid for training. It's true. You don't get paid for travel. You don't get paid to set up the appointments. All you get paid for is for being at that appointment or commission. So I don't know how that's not a scam when the vast majority of jobs, it does not work that way. You are paid hourly or salary. She did this in the last video where she talked about how it's not a scam because we've been around for a long time and we sell these great knives and make so much money. Well, there's all these other MLMs who have been found by the courts eventually to be pyramid schemes and then are either forced to close or completely reform their business model. Just because a company's been around for a long time doesn't mean that it's not a scam. It just means that the company has not been ordered to completely reform its business model or close yet. We've seen several companies having to close or completely change their business model because they were operating illegally as a pyramid scheme. Have you ever heard of people who embezzle money and are found to be frauds and stealing money? They made billions of dollars, but they did so illegally. Have you ever heard of Ponzi schemes where people are illegally making all this money? They're making billions of dollars and they're doing it illegally. Just because there's all this money involved doesn't mean that it's legal. And just because the courts haven't ordered that the company be shut down doesn't mean that it's not illegal. It just means we haven't had that court decision yet.
Question number 2, is Vector Marketing a multi-level marketing company? No, they're not. That's actually probably one of the biggest rumors that's out there about Vector, but they aren't an MLM. They're actually single level. You don't have to pay anything to work there. And the only way that sales representatives make an income is through selling Cutco.
She admitted, number one, that the only way people make money is through selling Cutco. Not paid for the training, not paid for calling people, setting up contacts, setting up appointments. When you had to travel to the appointments, you were not paid for your travel, you were not reimbursed, and all you're paid for is the appointment itself or the commission. She said that you don't have to pay to join. Up until 2011, you did have to pay to buy the knives.
They are not required to have a downline or anything like that. Even if they refer a friend to work with them, they don't get paid off of their friend's sales. The only way they get money is from selling Cutco personally.
When you think about Vector Marketing, they are consistently hiring, they're consistently recruiting. And then at interviews and when people are hired, they're told to write down names and phone numbers of other people that should be able to work there. And then people told me that they were told that they would be compensated for how many people that they recruit to work for Vector Marketing. I don't know what you call that. That's not single level because you have all these people recruiting and then being compensated, and then the other people are being compensated. The focus is always on joining, recruitment. Why is that? Because people are compensated for recruiting others. That is an MLM. And when you think about it, with vector marketing, you had, I mean, she said now that it's all remote, but if you have all the branch managers and then you have all the people under them who are going out and selling the knives, and then they are recruiting people and then recruiting people under them, that's an MLM. It's even worse because with a lot of MLMs, they used to be paid off of recruitment, but then a lot of them had to remodel so that they were only being paid off of other people's sales, the sales of their downlines. With the recruitment thing, people have said the vector marketing, you're paid for recruitment. So that's even more egregious. It's not even just the sales, it's the actual recruitment that you're being paid for. So people are incentivized to recruit more people and get more people to join. The hiring process at other businesses is completely different than an MLM and vector marketing.
Question number 3 is, how does the sales representative position work? So sales representatives conduct presentations where they demonstrate the Cutco product, and those are fully remote, and the sales reps are guaranteed to make a base pay whether they make a sale or not. So there is the base pay, but then there is also like a bonus incentive pay, and that's for people who do exceptional work and kind of go above and beyond. But fact of the matter is that sales reps get paid whether they make a sale or not.
Now she's going to be interviewing the digital strategy manager for vector marketing. So I'm not going to be including his name, and if you end up stumbling across this video on your own, that's on you. But like I said, I'm not going to be including either of their names or any personal details like that.
What is your role with Vector, and why are you qualified to be the one talking about the Vector interview?
I am the digital strategy manager. I've been with the company for 20 years in some capacity. I started entry level, as many of our representatives do. I was in management for about 10 years. And then the last handful of years, I've been in a role where I've worked closely in a team that work on a lot of digital projects, including what I'm going to call the virtualization of our business, which isn't a new thing for us. We've been doing this for 3 to 4 years now. It just kind of came to a culmination right here.
The first thing that I wanted to ask you is, what is the Vector interview process like?
So what the process used to be is somebody would speak to a receptionist or a staff member, and then we'd schedule them at an office location. You know, we had all different interview times because we were trying to accommodate different schedules. And you know, they get directions, you know, here's how to get in the building and so forth.
I don't know why he's stating how the interview process worked. And it's the exact same way any interview would work. You schedule your interview. You go to the location of the interview. You have the interview. Why does that need to be explained to people? I don't get it.
And how we've changed that interview process, of course, is to eliminate the entire component of go to this location at this time. And naturally, we find it's a lot more convenient. We find a lot of people, especially if they're looking for work in a rush, may even interview on the same exact day. We don't always have that available for people, but we do. When we do, it's oftentimes advantageous, because then somebody can come and learn all about us. We can learn about them, and we try to give same day decisions for people. So that way, if we're not for them, or they don't work out, maybe they're not who we're looking for, they don't fall back into the 2-week process of, oh, we'll call you back.
That is so not normal. Obviously, since he's a marketing strategist and is trying to frame vector marketing in a good light, it's interesting that he was trying to spin the idea of interviewing people the same day that they contact the company or you contact them. And he also tried to positively spin making a decision on a candidate within the same day. How is that a good thing? The fact that you just pounce on any person who is inquiring about the position or wanting to interview anybody that you're seeking out in the same day. You're making a decision on a candidate within the same day. It's obviously clear that they hire, I'm assuming, probably most of the people that interview, because if they really did narrow down the pool of applicants, they wanted to make sure they had the best people working for them. They wanted to really weigh their options and weigh the pros and cons of each candidate, see which ones were a better fit. That takes time. And yeah, it does suck having to hear back from a job and waiting for them to contact you. But if a company wants to make sure they have the right candidate and make sure they have the right fit, that takes time to interview people, have second rounds or third or fourth, however many rounds of interviews they will have to hire a candidate. And the fact that he's admitting and is trying to spin the fact that the company pounces on any candidate and makes incredibly quick decisions on candidates is concerning, because that shows they don't think too long about whether to interview a candidate or whether or not to hire a candidate, because that takes time. And the fact that he's admitting that they don't take the time to really think about their decisions, that's concerning. But it's obviously because they interview, I think, everybody, and then they hire, I'm assuming, pretty much everybody.
Now, the interview itself, everybody comes in kind of at different points. So if I have a friend that recommended me to the position, that friend might have told me everything about selling Cutco and what that's like. Or it might have been somebody that recommended me that I haven't talked to in like 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So I might know nothing.
And I love that he's bringing up the recruiting and how people might be recruiting you for the company when they haven't spoken to you in 7, 8, 9 years. Why are they doing that? Again, because during the interview process or after you're hired, during the trainings, you are asked to list names of people and go through your phone and write down pretty much anybody you know. And like I said, there have been people who say that you can be compensated. The more names that you give, the better it is for you monetarily, because you could be compensated for recruiting people. The fact that he's admitting that people who haven't talked to you in years are telling you to work for this company, why would they be doing that? Why would they be reaching out to you? Because they're told to do that. They're pushed to do that and badgered to do that and monetarily rewarded for it if they give enough names.
And so the tact that most of our managers take is they shoot for too much information versus not enough. And typically what happens in the virtual process is the manager will go through kind of, here's how it's going to work. Here's what we're going to talk about today. We've started utilizing this 7-minute video, which we like because then we know for sure that everybody has all the information and all the same information. Then after that, the manager will go through and talk about specifically their team, some of their policies, and really essentially what it's like to work with them. Because when someone's doing due diligence in a job, it's not just about, okay, can I do the position? I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally, I can. It is, am I a culture fit?
I'm not sure when during this interview the interviewer gets to know the interviewee. He said that they go in depth talking about the company, what it's like, the company culture. And while during interviews that does come up, and it is important for the interviewee to get that information and find out what the company is like, what it's like working for them, what are the values of the company. But the fact that he's putting so much emphasis on that rather than having it be a two-way street and getting to know the candidate, finding out what the candidate is all about. What is their experience? What is their education? What are they all about? It's weird that it's so one-sided. It's just shoving the information in the interviewee's face. I don't know when getting to know the candidate comes into play.
There's a lot of different opinions online about vector marketing. Some people say that Vector is a shady company. Some call it a scam altogether. I just wanted to get your input. What's your take on that?
I am one of the ones calling it a scam because it's a scam. I don't know if she saw my video. Probably not. I'm not sure.
Everybody is 100% free and entitled to really have their own opinion. And direct sales in general, which is something we've been doing for almost 40 years here, has never been, I don't think any direct sales company has ever enjoyed this kind of this altruistic brand image from a standpoint of like, wow, they are, I mean, it's not a nonprofit. We're a for-profit company. And with that, you know, comes a deference of opinion. And I respect that. I wish that everybody had a very favorable opinion of our company. I truly do. I really do. Certainly the people that work with us have a more informed, favorable opinion than people that don't. How can we help the average individual succeed? Meaning we don't accept everybody for the position, but if we give somebody a shot, can we help this person, we call it, become the best version of themselves in sales? Because a lot of people will work with us and try us out, and the reality is sales isn't for them. And that's okay. We know that going in. We offer them positions of that going in, but can we create programs that help them be successful?
Not all sales jobs function like direct sales or MLMs. Like I said, working in retail, you can call that sales. You're selling to people. And there are a lot of sales jobs where people work on commission, but they work commission as well as getting paid their hourly wage or their salary. It's funny that he made sure to say that we don't hire everybody. I'm sure you're hiring most people if you're making same-day decisions on candidates. How could you be rejecting so many people if you're making decisions in a day? I'm pretty sure they're definitely hiring most of the people that they interview.
How would you respond to the accusation that Vector tries to take advantage of broke college students?
Going back to the direct sales industry, where I'm often going to say is commonly referred to as pyramid schemes. And if you're a direct sales company, you get lumped into this pyramid scheme kind of world, which let me respond from a company standpoint that in our model of how we conduct business, number one, we do not have multiple tiers of, you know, I get paid off this person who gets paid off this person who gets paid off this person. Meaning the number one goal and the number way our representatives make money and earn income with us is by selling Cutco. That's one thing.
If the number one way people make money is by selling Cutco, then what is the point of recruiting and recruiting and recruiting and recruiting and badgering people to recruit other people who badger other people to work for Vector Marketing? What is the point of that recruiting strategy if they're not monetarily benefiting from it? He said earlier that you may be recruited by a close friend or someone you haven't talked to in 7, 8, 9 years. Why would people be doing that? That is not a normal behavior that you see in other jobs. You don't see teachers saying, hey, you need to come teach at my school. Come work retail with me. That's not normal. Companies obviously hire, and sometimes they need to hire more candidates and they have more open positions, but that's different. You don't have the actual entry-level employees actively recruiting people that they haven't talked to in years. You just don't see that. So there is some incentive for these people to keep recruiting. Obviously, there are people above them who are badgering them to recruit others. Why would that be your model if there's no monetary benefit to that? That's not a normal way for a business to function. It's funny that I'm filming this and I just got a comment from someone talking about their Vector training and how it was stupid. So I feel like everything is just proving my point.
The other thing is we know that a lot of our representatives aren't going to sell Cutco. And so corporately, we've had for many years now, what's called a base per appointment rate where they do a presentation, whether it's with a stranger or a friend or family member, whoever, and if they don't make a sale, they have some level of stability in their income. We word it base appointment because something we've seen with these virtual presentations is oftentimes presentations don't last an hour. Of course, if I'm sitting down with my neighbor, somebody I've known since middle school or someone I love, it might be an hour and a half. But it's so there's a variance there. And I think that having that base pay is pretty rare for this type of industry where, everything's predicated on selling.
It's interesting that he talked about the per appointment situation because in the past they were very shady with that. People would get marketing materials from Vector Marketing and it would say $15 per hour, or it would just say $15. And it was very misleading. So I believe to try to avoid further lawsuits, they had to make sure that it said per appointment. But that was a progression. It didn't always say per appointment. It used to say per hour, or it would just say $15 or whatever the number would be. There was a progression in order to get to that because people were complaining and there were a lot of lawsuits. So it wasn't always this way. They're leaving out a lot of vital details, a lot of very important information of the history. And it's important to know that because it wasn't always this way. They weren't always so forthcoming by saying it's per appointment. And they've been misleading people for a very long time. So it's important to know that backstory.
This is not a situation where people are paying money to work with us. Meaning 15 years ago when I started, we used to give out bags of knives to people, right? And all the presentations used to be in-home. Whereas most of the representatives that work with us today may not even be aware that we actually used to do in-home presentations. Or if they do in-home presentations, they might do it on a very selective basis. But back when I started, we used to put down a deposit. I don't remember what it was, but the number 140 sticks in my head, like $140. And so then I have the knife kit, and let's say I have the knife kit with like $400 or $500 worth of stuff. If I disappear, I now own the knives. They keep my deposit. And if I returned it, even though they're used, I'd get the deposit back.
Obviously, he's trying to show Vector Marketing in a positive light. So he says I remember hearing that they'd say it was a deposit and you would get your money back. But having to pay that much money up front is insane.
So that was a thing for very, very, very many years. And it's something that we stopped doing about a decade ago. And I still see people online, accuse or point. And that's okay. Maybe it's because that was their memory of what happened, when they interviewed a decade ago or something. But the business changes quickly, and we've made changes.
They made changes because they had to, because they were brought to court, and there were numerous lawsuits. It wasn't, and this is something that goes beyond MLMs and specifically Vector Marketing. Obviously, there are lots of other companies that are not MLMs, Walmart, Target, etc., where they have to be brought to court and they have to be sued for things to change. But even when those companies do it, it's wrong for them to frame it as, oh, we changed and it was our choice to change. He's framing it as if we changed because we're evolving and we wanted to change. No. You changed because you had to. You were forced to. You were sued many times. You were brought to court many times. You had to settle many times. You had to change your business practices because you would not be allowed to run your company anymore otherwise if you didn't change. So stop acting like it was the company's choice to change. It was not. It was the courts.
But that experience can really mean something to somebody. Even if someone only does it for 3 weeks or 3 months. If you try it and it doesn't go well, we are big on no negative endings. In fact, the CEO of our holding corporation actually sends a letter to every representative when they become inactive, because we don't like negative endings.
I've heard stories of people who said that they would quit Vector Marketing and then the managers would call them and say, what happened? Why aren't you coming back? And is there anything we can do to fix it? And stuff like that. That's so unprofessional. He's again doing a great spin and trying to make it seem positive. We don't like negative endings, but that's such an unprofessional tactic to badger people who leave and ask them, why did you leave? What's going on? Are you coming back? Please come back. That's not normal.
If somebody currently has an interview scheduled for vector marketing, what are some pieces of advice that you could give them to really stand out during their interview?
First is, I would say, arrive curious. And when I say arrive curious, it is, again, everybody's coming from different backgrounds of what they know about Vector, how they heard about it. We have a colleague of mine whose daughter sold Cutco with us. She knew everything about the position before she even showed up for interview. But I would still tell her, show up curious, ask the manager questions. They don't have to be, these big, intricate, where do you see the company in 3 to 5 years, kind of cliche questions that everybody tells you to ask. But just get very clear on what we do.
If the person he's talking about really did her research and found out about the company, she wouldn't have been working for them. I've talked about this before in my other vector marketing videos, but I was recruited to work for vector marketing. The person told me it was an administrative assistant job. And when I found out the name of the company, I told someone about it and they said, oh, Vector's a scam, don't do it. And I was mad, but I did all my research and I looked it up, and what do you know? Article upon article about lawsuits and court cases, personal experiences from people who interviewed for vector marketing, worked for vector marketing, were scammed. If you do your research, it's not hard to find out what vector marketing is really all about. And you don't have to even dig for it. It's just there. It's all over the place. So if that person really did her research, she would not be working for vector marketing.
We look for people that present themselves well. So if someone shows up on their video interview, we've had people show up and they're lying horizontal on the couch, right? That's not a super enthusiastic first impression. I wouldn't expect that interview to go very well.
Dude, this is vector marketing you're talking about. Even if they don't know for sure that it's a scam, if they do their research, they see that it's questionable, to say the least. So to expect people to be just so professional, what does he expect?
I'm not saying somebody has to dress up. We're pretty casual when we do presentations. That doesn't mean they can't present themselves well in terms of answering questions. We start using this chat feature. So a manager might ask a question and then they respond by chat, gives them a moment to think about it, gives them a moment to talk about and kind of sell themselves, which is an important skill. The goal of an interview is to establish a rapport with the person interviewing you, which comes from vulnerability a little bit on both sides, and also comes from, just being open and honest and truthful and making good eye contact.
That's all good advice and everything, but it's still a scam. And it makes it quite clear that they hire most of the people that interview. And like he said, same day decisions. How can you really think through all of the candidates that you're interviewing and really weigh the options and make the right choice for the company if you're making a choice within a day?
If somebody is interested in learning more about the position or about the company, or maybe they want to, apply to work with vector marketing, where should we send them?
For starters, of course, vectormarketing.com. That kind of lays out all the, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Here's what we do. The site that I spend the most time in with my job is called thevectorimpact.com, which is kind of our personal growth hub. Our parent website, vectorparents.com, for moms and dads that have questions.
It's interesting that they have an entire website dedicated to parents who are looking for information about vector marketing. They know who their demographic is. It's younger people, high school students, college students. That's who they're primarily recruiting. Those aren't the only people that end up applying or getting recruited, but it's interesting that that's one of their biggest demographics.
Somebody wants to check us out, they can go to workforstudents.com if they're a student. If they want to apply like a part-time side gig, evenings and weekends, they're not a student, You do not have to be a student to work with us, but they can go to earnparttime.com.
And then again, a website just for students because, again, one of their biggest demographics that they target is students. This video didn't prove to us that it's not a scam. They didn't dispute that you don't get paid for cold calling and for setting up your appointments and when you had to commute to the appointments. From the sounds of it, they're still operating as a pyramid scheme. It's unclear because they didn't say in the video what the motivation was to make everything remote. I don't know, like I said, if it's because of the pandemic or if it had to do with the fact that people were complaining and not getting paid for travel. So I don't know if it was one or the other, a combination of both, I'm not quite sure. So I should probably end this video because the lighting is getting really weird on me, but I'll be sure to leave articles and resources in the description below, as well as some of my favorite anti-MLM YouTubers so that you guys can go and check them out as well. Stay safe, and I will see you guys next time. I'm thinking of you all. Bye, guys.